The animated pilot for Homestuck is out now, and as a fan of the series since Act 5 was live, allow me to take this momentous occasion to say I fucking called it. Why didn't it work? We all seem to be in agreement. Okay, you might not be, and I don't know you personally. Feel free to chime in, dissenters welcome. Not only that it didn't really work as anything other than a fan animation, something Homestuck is no stranger to, but may in fact have been kind of particularly bad. Welcome to the club. I've been singing this song since Cyclonials, which is actually later than a decent amount of people. Why am I bragging about that? What was I saying? Oh yeah, I called it. It's not really a question of why it didn't work. We all seem to recognize that the pacing was shockingly bad. But what does that mean? Airplane threw jokes at the wall so quickly that you didn't have time to recover from the previous one before you were laughing anew. The original Homestuck itself juggled plot threads and managed to cultivate a fan base large enough to capture both you and I, and we're total strangers to each other. I'm not satisfied with the simplest answer, that there's too much happening at once. Let's break it down. If this is a juggling act failed, what caused the balls to fall? Disclaimers out of the way. 1. If you liked it, cool. You're allowed. Do not, under any circumstances, let me ruin your fun. 2. It's a pilot, you're judging it too harshly. If you think I'm judging it too harshly, you should talk to the investors that any pilot is really there to impress. 3. Give it time. You can't have this definite opinion on something this early. Then why show it to me? If I liked it a lot, wouldn't I also then be in danger of enjoying it too early? Okay, we all on the same page? Great. Did you know that in terms of both sheer density and volume, Homestuck is one of the most dialogue-heavy stories ever written? It's up there with War and Peace, The Brothers Karamazov, and Infinite Jest. Infinite Jest! I almost started reading Infinite Jest once in college, and let me tell you, that's saying something. So in terms of what a dialogue-heavy cartoon typically is, my mind immediately jumps to home movies, Bob's Burgers, Archer, really anything starring H. John Benjamin. Turns out that dialogue-centric cartoons are a proven formula. Cheaper to make, visually interesting, and the banality of dialogue blends beautifully with the contrasting absurdity that animation typically provides. It's funny that Sterling Archer is talking to you about properly caring for an under-enriched ocelot, while appearing perfectly like Pierce Brosnan in his prime with any number of concealed pistols on him. This pilot, however, was not that. Energetic, emphatic movement is the order of the day. But the push for more visually striking animation doesn't necessarily need to conflict with dialogue, does it? Writers, like myself, are constantly bitching about weaving exposition into actions to keep a story interesting. And that was absolutely possible here. And that's because it's true. It was true before, during, and after the development of this pilot. Okay, so they effectively weaved a story into a visually striking animation. Shouldn't that be a recipe for success? It would be. And it has been. Paprika, Tech on Concrete, every single episode of Last Man all do this perfectly well. It's with a heavy heart that I just have to say it's not the animation's fault, it's not the decision to blend striking visuals with exposition, it's not even that it didn't turn into a chill shooting the shit dialogue fest a la Bob's Burgers or BoJack Horseman like I would have liked. I don't have to have it my way every time. It's the simple fact that it's a bad script. Everyone has their individual nitpicks with the script. My editor, Jordan, say hi Jordan, can't help but notice that this wasn't basic teenage kid swearing, this was advanced swearing, to the degree of being noticeable and unnatural. Insert joke here that would piss off Vivsy Pop.
Welcome to the goddamn digital circus. My name is Kane. I am your bitch.
The artist on Inverse Ninja said, head reared back in surprise, how did they manage to make Dave the annoying one? A repeated complaint I've seen is that nothing has room to breathe, but I couldn't help that none of the complaints I saw had anything to do with the directing, the animation, the music, maybe one or two complaints about the voice acting. Otherwise, it's all script. And breaking it down into its individual parts, the dialogue and exposition did weave into the actions happening on screen. Bad dialogue. Incomprehensible exposition. All the parts atop the foundation of the script are placed there with some real talent, clearly completed by a series of dedicated artists, but the foundation is rotten. As a Homestuck fan, why is Dave so hyperactive and in your face? That's not the Dave I remember. Why did John see the meteor, become intensely concerned about it, and then literally forget about it the next shot? Why do we even do the title drop monologue if we're not even attempting to recreate the strange, isolated mood of a suburban kid with only online friends to play with? And is John attracted to Dave now? Where the fuck did that come from? As a non-Homestuck fan, why did John start fighting his dad? Was that always going to be a thing? Did they just fight, and does that make Dad a villain? Why did he start sticking fake arms onto that clown thing without even looking like he was having fun doing it? It's a bad script. Everything I've seen everyone else say about the pacing, I resent ever so slightly. Because you can do this kind of story in this amount of time. Yeah, some threads might need to be cut, but you can do so with surgical precision. You can decide some things are more important than others. And even if you didn't, you decide you want to do everything in the pilot and not add on even another minute. Smarter dialogue, fewer distractions, reframe emphasis in specific areas. I've seen fascinating and condensed stories. What the fellows at Spindleroo attempted here is not by itself impossible. It just built its foundation on sand. And a few more drafts could have allowed its better elements to shine brighter. I kept saying I called it early in my typical braggadocious way, and I'm being insincere at least in terms of my tone, but my prediction was this. Okay, real talk. Here's why I don't have faith in the Homestuck pilot. You need to condense the first act of Homestuck. Act 1 has two extremely important qualities. 1, it contains crucial information for understanding the rest of the story. 2, its appeal lies in extremely smart and character-driven dialogue segments, where people shoot the shit on aim. These two elements are what give Homestuck its niche appeal. Complexity and dialogue are the things that make Homestuck interesting, at least for the first act as well as some others. Could you condense such a thing into an entertaining animated series? Oh yeah, no question. But it would require being something closer to a BoJack Horseman or a Bob's Burgers with occasional Sakuga elements. I could watch, and in reality listen, to Bob and Teddy bicker for hours. A ton of anime out there is extremely dialogue heavy, and then has action scenes where climactic moments happen. But okay, the trailer showed off a lot of visually interesting elements and not a lot of dialogue, fine. So could you take a section of Homestuck that goes from beginning a story to installing Spurb and finding out the consequences, and contains dialogues with Dave and Rose, and an extended fight scene with Dad, and weave the necessary exposition in perfectly, and pace it correctly so that you have a pristinely perfect, well-flowing 20-minute bouquet of epic storytelling, comedy, action, and tone setting that covers a gigantic section of one of the internet's longest stories? Yeah, theoretically, sure, I can imagine it. The reason I have no faith in this pilot is that the necessary skills to do so, to create that flawless gem, comprise none. 0%. Zilch. Zip. None of the skills that Andrew Hussey and Vivian Medrano have. They're talents, and they are talented. Don't even create a funny Venn diagram of the skills necessary to make a Homestuck animated pilot what it would need to be, much less the perfect storm of talent that a fan like myself would hope for. Is it possible? Sure. Anything's possible. But Medrano and Hussey would need to stop being themselves to do it, and I don't see that happening. And I wish I hadn't, but yeah, I called it. I'm glad you could stop by for this impromptu video. Support myself and my games in the Patreon below, and sharing this or any of my videos with a friend would have a real, measurable positive effect. Thanks for stopping by.